for our special budget session tonight. So Alex and Jesse have printed off this notable items, which is more than I thought, but so y'all got my, I don't want to be here all night. I'm sure y'all don't either, but so to go through this, trying to think. If you got something on the first page that you want to discuss or disagree with or want to support, why don't we do it that way, page by page? Instead, I don't want to go line item by line item.
I'll have 3 extra printed copies. So, sorry, I don't have enough for everybody.
All right. So the first up there, the only one, let's see.
It goes in order by department though, so it starts with us.
So the only one on there that I put in my email was a town council pay increase, and so I suggested $200 a year.
A year?
A year versus,
Not a month?
It's $16 a month.
well, you don't,
If I bother.
we're not gonna get a $200 a month raise. That's,
Well,
that'd be more than what the,
any more than Indian Trail.
No, that would only be,
If we're gonna go to the hassle of raising it,
yeah.
I suggest we do it more meaningfully than $16 a month.
hassle. It's a computer entry.
No, it isn't. It's catching discussion with the neighbors. You're getting it.
I'm not talking about that yet. You're talking about the.
No, I know it's a computer entry, but if we're gonna do it,
Scram coming?
I guess,
I don't think so.
no.
Did he say anything to you, Alex? Grant? Yeah, I saw him leaving with his daughter.
Um,
So that's my recommendation. So if y'all want to do something else, the majority rules.
We gotta back up 2 seconds. Just a big picture, maybe save us some time. I missed the last budget meeting. I was out of town, so I was a little bit, I didn't know what I was gonna get from Alex ahead of that meeting. I came out of the last meeting thinking that we'd asked for like a 2-cent increase from neutral plus the car tax. So it's a little bit surprised to see 4 plus the car tax. But I'm just curious, are we generally in agreement with them? I don't want to fight everybody, but are we in agreement that this was a good budget that we've got 4 votes for?
No, I don't think so.
Well, but yeah, I'm just asking. Okay.
Well, I think,
That's my opinion.
I think,
No offense, I didn't mean that you
No,
got
no,
something
take it.
wrong, but I didn't listen
I think,
very well enough.
I thought the idea, well, is we would go through this and then, and then see where the money is at. Because,
That's what I thought.
yeah,
I'll go on the record. I think the council pay, since it's not been increased for however long somebody said it has, and it's so disparate, I think we ought to improve it. However, I don't think we have to, I don't think future councils ought to have to debate this in the public square, even in a year with tax increases, because we're clearly underpaid. I've spent 40 hours this month on that Chestnut development in my district. I would just suggest we make a policy that it's this and it increases by CPI, just so we don't have to do this haranguing of, is it the right thing to do? Or tie it to the median of the area. That's the most logical thing to do. I'm okay keeping it at this part of the discussion, for me at least, because it is an equitable thing.
so I think then, I thought that you had actually were saying per month.
Oh.
So you kind of caught me off guard there.
Oh, okay.
So, but I definitely think that what's in the proposal is way too high, because I think it was like 11.5 or something like that there.
Yeah, going from 4,800 to
Yeah.
11,500.
I mean, that is certainly not anywhere near where I think I'm comfortable with.
Then why don't we just pick a number, like 6? 48 to 6, that's not a huge increase, but at least it's not $16 a month.
All right, well, we got a suggestion? Trying to get a response?
Yeah, I mean, I'm calculating. So you're saying 600 or six? Oh, oh,
4,800 to 6,000.
48
6,000,
to
okay,
6,000.
okay.
So that's $100 a month.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's better than 16. I don't know, does anybody think that's too low?
It would still, I don't think it's too low, I'm just saying, it would still keep us at the lowest
Yeah.
of all of the surveyed towns.
I think it's too low. Again, I don't plan to be on council forever, so I feel like I can say this honestly. If you take a look at the median across all the towns, it is clearly too low, unless they're paying way too much for what they're getting. So there's no question that it's too low. The question is what's tolerable as an increase. I think that's what we're trying to talk about. And I'm fine with $600 a month, whatever. And I'm fine with leaving it until I leave council. It's not about me, it's about the council and
All right, so you're good with 6,
I'm fine with that or
all right?
whatever.
David?
But I would want it tied to CPI or something.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't,
let's worry about that in another meeting.
Okay.
well, I think they're related. I'm okay with 6 if it's got a CPI attached, because I really don't think we need to mess with this ever again, and the fact that it hasn't ever been changed from your memory of 20 years and Karen's,
I don't know when it was.
so it's been a long time. It won't stay 400 or whatever we end up doing with this. It'll actually stay even with cost of living.
All right, Stephen, 6, Taylor Ray is good with 6.
I'm doing math.
Well, we got 4 doing 6, so it's over $6,000.
Plus a CPI,
Well, yeah, they'll draft the CPI language.
but that's attached. Is that right?
Brad, is the 600, no, if it's 600, that would be more than
Oh,
6,000.
Graham's back.
So-
It'd be
7,200.
7,200. Because we just said that the 6,000 was only $100 increase, so it wouldn't be 6,000, why would it be 7,200?
No, they're it's 4,800 plus 1,200, 6,000.
Yeah, I think one half the group is saying $600 a month. I think one half the group is saying 6,000 a year.
Your recommendation, Lori, was 6,000.
Yeah, just to throw a number out there. I
Right.
mean, it's not set in stone by any means with me.
All right, so we'll go back again. 6,000, Brad, annually.
Yeah, I still think it's too low, but I can support it if everybody
Well,
does.
then let's get it,
All right,
I think what you were saying is 7,200.
I wasn't saying anything. I was saying I'll go along with what would be $100 raise every month. That's fine. I just think it needs to have, somehow we need to tie it to an
CPI.
index,
Right,
yeah.
Right.
So we don't have to debate this every year.
Well, what if we split the difference and go with 6,600?
What was
I'm
the
fine with that too.
Between what? You split between what and what?
72 and 6.
72.
Yeah.
72 and 6.
Yeah,
And that's 7,200 annually, which
no,
is,
that's 6,600.
6,600 annually.
which is slightly more than Harrisburg, but slower than everybody else.
Second lowest.
Okay, I can do that.
6,600, David?
I can live with it, plus including the CPI.
CPI. David, Stephen's all right. Lori?
Yep. Good.
Taylor Ray? I'm not. It doesn't matter, we got the majority, so you can vote no.
No, we can't. A withheld vote is a yes, so.
I vote no.
$6,600 a year
Plus the CPI.
for the council.
How about the mayor?
Well, now,
Leave it as recommended. Why, you'll come back if we do that, right?
yeah, no, I already had one guy threaten me this week, so I had to shut him down. Well, let's see, so that went up, 6,600 went up,
Do the same
1,400.
percentage increase for the mayor. I would just do the same percentage increase for the mayor.
That's what I'm doing here, doing the math. It goes to 9,200. 9,200 for the mayor would be the same percentage increase that council members got, 4,800 to 66.
Oh, I thought you wanted just a small increase. I'm kidding.
Me? I'm talking,
He's not the mayor
I'm
after
not-
this year, apparently, so he says what he says.
Including CPI, I'm good with that.
yeah. Brad?
Yeah.
And
Stephen?
what was the overall?
What did I say? 9,200.
I'm fine with that.
Lori,
What?
9,200 for the mayor?
Oh, sure, yes.
Taylor Ray?
Sure.
No.
No, there you go.
Can I ask just a clarifying question? You keep saying plus CPI in this budget?
Yes.
You're doing?
No,
or-
going forward,
Okay.
going forward.
All right, that's the only thing. Town hall sign is out, $65,000, so thank you on that. Anybody else has any? What we're doing, Graham, is doing each page. If somebody sees something they want to discuss, instead of going line item by line item and being here all night. So, anybody else have anything on page one?
Well, so we are gonna do so we're adding a finance position. And we're replacing the software.
I had a question about that too, but I also thought that I heard that this was more of a checks and balances, right-hand, left-hand kind of thing from an audit perspective. Is that what? The question was, does the software, you didn't ask this, but I was at, does the software improvements negate the need for additional body? I would say no.
Necessarily. So the town has continued to grow, and the workload for finance, is significantly more than staff can handle. As is, even with new software, currently, finance staff is not involved in any billing, by any of the departments, so we're not recording any receivables for year end or anything like that, which is required. But because we're not involved in that, we're not recording it. Because of the software being so manual, everything is so cumbersome, so that's not something that we can take on and get involved in at this point. Everything, right now with us, having to work out of the office, everything is, extremely difficult. We do not have a software that has workflows, so all of our workflow processes are manual. We print paper, we do manual signatures, and with us being out of the office, that's very difficult. If you ask some of the department heads, there's probably stuff that they're aggravated at me right now because they're waiting on me to do stuff, but my focus has been the budget for y'all, so I'm behind on getting stuff done for them. So, you know, we do desperately need both the software and the person. So, I mean, because we can't grow at the rate that the town has and not have the staff grow and the capabilities grow with it. And the software estimate, that's just truly an estimate. I have not looked at a software, so I don't know what software we would go with and what the actual cost would be. And, you know, full disclosure, there would be an ongoing annual cost. It would not be that amount that you see there. That's just for implementation. But until I know what software we would be going with, I can't even guess as to what that amount would be, but it would definitely be.
And then we talked about, in the past years, the annual debt payment. When we talked about this a couple of years ago, interest rates were higher, and so we were actually making more money by keeping the money in the bank than we would be paying in interest. Is that a true statement still?
I believe that is still a true statement. I'd have to double check and see what our interest rate on that loan is, but right now that's still a true statement. Rate significantly declined.
Okay.
A lot of the mayor's comments, or Mayor, a lot of your comments were things that were fund balance paid for as a funding source. So I'm trying to understand tonight, like that software, it's a one-time expense, it's eligible for fund balance because it's not recurring, the fee would be. Is there any material difference in paying for things with fund balance and paying for things out of the budget or the operating, the other side of the house? Any material difference in that? Like, should we be taking something like that and paying it out of fund balance? I'm trying to struggle with the distinction.
I'm not sure what you mean by asking the material aspect of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, really our fund balance has been built from the ARPA fund. And so, and I know a question had been asked previously about how other places had spent their ARPA funds. And reporting-wise, a lot of places did what we did. But then what happened was that freed up money to do other things. So a lot of places took that additional step that we haven't taken yet, and they spent those freed up dollars on other things, which is what we're trying to do with appropriating some of this fund balance and some of the ABOs that we had brought to y'all in the past, and doing that. So when you have the fund balance, it is okay to spend on those one-time things.
Well, I didn't ask
Question.
a good question. Let me ask it this way. That was my fault. I know my question now. If we pay for the financial software out of fund balance, that doesn't result in $100,000 having to come from the general revenue from taxes. Meaning, if we find enough of those, you could lower the tax rate because you're gonna lean more on fund balance. That's a true statement, right?
Yes, yes. I have a list. Let me hand you this. I have a list of items that are being funded from fund balance.
Well, they're right here, aren't they?
Well, it's listed under this funding source, like,
It is, but I do have it right here. That'll just make it a little easier for you to see.
But do y'all understand my question? If we shelve some of these one-times on the fund balance, we take some out of savings, but we don't have to increase taxes as much if that's the way we want to go.
And did I hear you correctly earlier tonight? You said our fund balance minimum is 34% now?
It is, yes, sir. That's what was adopted with that policy.
What-
And
what-
that's because that's the tier that we fall in,
Right.
the LGC
Yeah, this is
tiers
different than
based
this
on
one.
our expenditures.
close.
What is our percent now?
We're over that.
Yeah.
Like 8.8 is what we have available above that to spend, $8.8 million
8.8. Wait,
estimated.
Will we be adding to fund balance at the end of this budget year?
I do not expect to, no, sir.
Thank you.
But the replacement software is coming out of general fund. Says there.
It is right now, yes, sir, because.
Oh,
we
you're
knew that
asking to switch it,
There
Brad.
would be additional costs going forward.
I understand, okay.
Yeah, I guess I'm looking for, is it a bad idea? Am I missing something that we couldn't just move that to fund balance? Is there a bad policy move in that?
There's not a bad sorry, go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, the reason I didn't do that in the budget, we didn't do it, I guess, in the budget, is because if you look at that 5-year forecast, right? That was my initial goal, to come in, give you a budget that was less than that 4 cent. And I apologize if I misheard the previous time. But what worried me wasn't this budget. It was when you look at the 5-year forecast. If you don't do that, the future deficits get big really quick. So that was the thinking.
Okay.
Oh, here's Jesse on the spot.
So I thought about that question today, and it maybe will be helpful, and I'm glad Eunice is back. I don't want to take a lot of time on this, but on the out years, we've got like a big number tagged to Blair Mill Park and a new park called Sweet Birch. I know where that is. But is it reasonable to project a brand-new park to be built, which comes with more expenses, more upfit for $500,000, which is fairly close to Fairhaven and that park, if you think about it? That's a northern park versus a southern park. We don't have a park on my side of town necessarily, but that's an example of a big $500,000 thing sitting out in the out years that Alex is trying to keep that deficit manageable, but it's really a park that doesn't have to be there. So that's what makes me want to lean toward dropping something like that $100,000 in the fund balance as a
Is that what
source.
you're proposing for that? That would be playground equipment?
The Sweet Birch is a park that's called for in our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So I think that was basically a placeholder from basically an earlier time during that process. So the question you're asking is a good one. I don't think we have any answers for it yet. It's just identified on our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. There's nice images of what it would be, so we'd be happy to share those. But as far as nuts and bolts of what that would be, what it would look like, we just don't have that right now. It's kind of.
Right, so
Where's it located?
It's at Stallings Road in Sweet Birch, right behind Stallings Farms neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the property they're donating down in the gully, or the creek bed.
Down in the gully.
All right, the question to council right now.
Years from now,
Yeah,
anyway.
so the question to council right now is recommended by Brad is the replacement, finance software. We take it out of, general fund, move it to fund balance. So,
Concur.
David agree? Stephen?
That's fine.
Lee? Agree? All right. Y'all got that, Alex?
Yes, sir.
Jesse?
Got it.
All right. Anything else on page one?
Now, when we take it out, Jesse, was any of that the fee for maintaining it during the year? Or this was 100% one-time purchase?
To be honest, I'm not sure at this point
don't
because
know.
I don't have a software picked out, so I don't have a quote to look at the cost.
There will be a significant fee.
So we probably need to add a line item for a projected fee, which won't be 100 grand, obviously. We're gonna take that out,
Well,
but we need to add a fee.
Figuring, I mean, just because it's gonna take time to find a software and go through an implementation and everything, my thought process was that the 100,000 would be more than enough to cover that first year, whether it was for a maintenance or an implementation or whatever it was for.
Pay all the first year costs out of fund balance, including what would be in the future a fee.
Okay.
All right, got it. All right, moving on to page two. The one I had on my list was I asked Chief and Council last time, Brad, to consider, we got, Chief sent us to, or Alex, or Andy Chief sent us the mileage as, instead of having 4 replacement vehicles, only purchasing 3. So if you got questions for the chief or Alex, if you didn't see the numbers that they gave us on the mileage.
I did see that, yeah.
So does that drop the additional staff also?
2 separate questions.
Well, I mean, but the extra car is for the new position.
Mayor, with your permission, could I?
Yeah,
Chief,
sure, that's
talk
right.
about that? I know originally we're adding 2 positions, but adding just 1 car, and I think you had kind of pushed back some of the rotation already.
Yeah,
I suppose.
so we've been, and again, it's a credit to the manager and the council, we've been very good on being able to keep our fleet rotation up to status quo. There's a year, and Alex, you might have to help me on this, it was before I got here that no cars were purchased, and the next year they had to buy 6 cars, which completely throws off a 3-car, 4-car rotation, because now all of a sudden you'll have 1 year where you've got 6 cars ready to rotate out. And then we'd have to come ask for these huge numbers, and I mean, 6 cars, I would not want to have to come up here and ask you all to fund 6 cars. But with the additional staffing, I really feel that 4th car is a necessary component to keep officers. I mean, this is the office that they work in, for 12 hours a day when they're working. And it would have a tendency it would throw off that rotation that we currently have of our replacement schedule.
Did everybody see the mileage email that was, they sent out to us?
I'm not sure I understood it, because it's a lot about engine miles, and I don't think about terms of
And
hours. or
I'll
something
help
like that.
clarify, because at our last meeting, we had this discussion. So someone had asked, at what mileage do we rotate police cars out? And I said, we actually rotate based on years, not on mileage. A patrol car is rotated out at 8 years. An administrative car, which is detectives, myself and the assistant chief, those are administrative cars. They rotate out at 10 years. But some of our surrounding departments, some of my colleagues have kind of started looking at engine hours versus mileage, because some of the research shows that engine hours play a bigger impact on the longevity and the repair costs of a vehicle.
Okay.
And that's where we started looking where, you know, Ford says, 1 engine hour is equivalent to X miles. Dodge says 1 engine hour is equivalent, I think it was between 30 and 60. But I believe one of those cars, if you looked at hours, had the equivalent of 600,000 miles on it. Everything else was over 200,000 using that formula. And I mean, I'm sure you could get somebody else to come up here and say, nope, miles are perfect, engine hours are this, and you get counter information all the time. I know when Alex asked me to track all that out, I got in all those cars, and some of those, you could tell that there's a lot of wear and tear on those cars when I started them up.
But, you know, one of the things that Councilman Ayers allowed me to use his car as a kind of a test sample, right? Has about 70,000 miles and about 2,000 engine hours. And the vehicle that Chief and I looked at after the meeting that night when it came up last Monday, it had 59,000 miles and about 8,900 engine hours. So again, Steven's car was 70,000 on the odometer, about 2,000 engine miles, whereas the car we looked at has 59,000 miles on the odometer, but about 8,900 miles on the engine
Hours.
Engine hours.
Thank you. So the 3 cars that are scheduled for replacement this year have about rounding 9,100 engine hours, 12,500 engine hours, and just under 11,000 engine hours.
And just for a point of clarification, we do not allow those cars to idle if the officer is at the police station or out on dinner break. If they're on call, we do allow them to keep the motor running in case they have to quickly get back in. But so, you know, if they're here doing a report or working on an arrest, those cars are shut off so they're not racking up engine hours.
All right, any questions for Chief? Thank you, Chief.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Because I guess what we have is the additional staffing.
Yes, sir.
So my understanding is part of this is, or one benefit of having the additional staff is when you are down an officer, they're on vacation, training, that you're not short-staffed.
Yes, sir.
I know, I thought pretty sure we approved a part-time officer. Could these positions be part-time as well to kind of like be on those officers that you call in for when we?
So it is, there are some places that do part-time, normally very small, you know, less than 10 officers. To be honest, I don't think we would, I feel very confident in saying we would not get the high-quality officer that we expect, the community has come to expect if we're hiring people in part-time with no benefits. That's just yeah, I don't believe we'd be able to get high-quality part-time. And then they're not committed to us because they're only a part-time officer. The whole reason that when I came to council to get the cadet program where we're paying them as employees to go to the police academy or BLET was it gives them a sense of, it gives us and them a sense that I'm already part of this community, I'm part of this department, I'm part of this town, which we're hopeful in the long run that turns into longevity and loyalty to the town itself.
Then I guess could you clarify the distinction between the lieutenant and officer? Like what?
So a lieutenant is, manages units. So right now we have 2 lieutenants. I had to pull we had a lieutenant that oversaw investigations. I had to pull him over to patrol because we needed more supervision. We have a very young patrol division. I had to pull him over, so I have 2 lieutenants managing our 4 squads because our span of control was getting too large. So this 3rd lieutenant's position, we would go back to having a lieutenant that's managing, CALIA, training, firearms, and criminal investigations. That's kind of what that special service lieutenant position would do. The other lieutenants would, one would be a day shift lieutenant, one would be a night shift, and they would rotate with their 2 squads. And then just kind of to fall back, I looked at 3 models when I was asked to do this staffing assessment. And we used the per capita model, the workload analysis, and the shift relief model. Per capita said Stallings Police needs 42 police officers, and I remember telling the council, I think you would run me out of here if I said, hey, I need to hire 20 more police officers. Even the workload analysis says we need 37 officers with 10 additional supervisors. Same scenario. But the shift relief factor model said we needed to add 6 to the department, 1 being a supervisor. And using very anecdotal, but 28 years of police experience, when I was going through this, that made sense to me, based on the fact that we've steadily run 13,000 calls a year, highs and lows, off a little bit. But those are 13,000 non-self-initiated calls. That doesn't include the traffic stops and all the things the officers do to go initiate on. It's the ones that are getting called to. But when we have people that are wanting to take vacation or go out sick, and we have to train them and send them, to schools that sometimes are 2 weeks long, that diminishes that number on patrol. So the shift relief allows us to keep a steady number on patrol while we can still send somebody to training. We can still allow them to take vacation or call out sick and not diminish that patrol number. I think the last budget meeting, I had commented that there's been many days and many nights where we only have 2 officers working patrol. And as long as nothing happens, that's great. I mean, we can do that all day as long as nothing happens. It's when something happens. And then we don't have the staffing to adequately cover and respond to those calls. And you had asked me, well, would the sheriff's office come? And I said, we'd call Matthews, Matt Hill, the sheriff's office if necessary. And again, I will, this is my bias towards the Stallings Police Department, but there is nothing better when a Stallings police officer shows up at a resident of Stallings when they've called 911 or something has happened that they need a police officer there. Nothing better than a Stallings officer showing up to respond to that issue.
Follow up on that, so the lieutenant, if there was an officer out, would
A lieutenant is manpower, is staffing. Yeah, they do count. Their job is just not to supervise. Their job is to, when necessary, to jump on the line and shag calls and write reports and make arrests if need be. Absolutely.
then, I just have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
First, how long do you think it would take? Because I know the market has previously been very tough to hire. Maybe it's improving. How long would you expect between posting, bringing them on?
So the lieutenant's position would be promoted internally. So we'd do a promotional process to promote a lieutenant. What that would trickle down to, you'd promote a sergeant to lieutenant, corporal to sergeant, a patrolman to corporal, and then you would hire an entry-level patrol officer. So you'd hire, if that makes sense, you'd hire 2 patrol officers because you're promoting that one position internally. The market has gotten better, but it's still a struggle. And we just had the police memorial last week, and of course, all the chiefs are talking about, oh, we've raised salary here, we've done retirees' health insurance here, we're doing this, we're doing that, and it's like a chess game where everybody's trying to one up everybody else to get the best candidate. So we have just recently sponsored a person to go to BLET. Sponsorship is, we're saying we vouch for who they are. They're not an employee of ours. So there's one option. It could be anywhere from getting a great lateral transfer officer and taking a few weeks to getting a cadet that takes, a few months. And really, our new pay plan, I feel like has really helped, or will really help when we're out there actively trying to recruit with some of the new benefits that were approved.
I think you can probably judge by my questions what my thoughts were, but. So yeah, I mean, my initial thought is promotion and bringing on an officer, and then next year hopefully bringing on another officer. Sometimes it's helpful to have those future numbers have the numbers be a little more. I guess just to understand what the next year's budget really will look like, because everything right now is a forecast, so.
Oh,
This is my thought, and I know from.
Absolutely.
I fully support bringing on as many people as you need.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Alex, or the manager and I have spoken. I mean, we originally, I put this request in last year and it didn't make it. I don't think it even made it to the council. It was removed before that. But again, we didn't ask, the study shows 6, and I certainly don't want to, I mean, asking for 6, first of all, will I be able to get 6 and get them trained and get them through that? That is a burden on the department. That's why we asked for 2, 2, and 2, because they have to go through FTO program for 12 weeks, and that's a lot of work for that officer, those officers that are training them as well, to have 6 all at once. Wouldn't just be hard to get 6 new officers, but then putting 6 officers through training. That's why we proposed 2, 2, and 2.
How, these 3 patrol vehicles, how many years ballpark will they be in use?
8, probably, I would guess 8 years.
How many do we replace each year,
3
every year?
every year. I think there's only been 1 year since I've been here that we cut one out, and that was my first year here.
All right, any other,
Can I ask Jesse a
Yeah.
question on that? Jesse, what's the,
I have some questions for you.
how long, what's considered a capital expense?
That's anything over $5,000.
And how many years would it be? Like, was a police car, it's not a recurring expense if it's replaced every 8 years, is it?
Well,
What I'm getting at
the
is
one
there's a
vehicle
chance we
is
could get
not.
these 3 into fund balance, because it's a long-term asset, not these 3 are long-term assets, not a recurring expense.
you could, with that logic does make sense, yes, sir. But because we do buy police vehicles every year, we just don't want to get in the habit of every year that we're using fund balance to replace those vehicles. Because if you look at that 5-year forecast, which yes, it is just a forecast, you know, it's the best of my ability at the time that I did it, we're gonna deplete fund balance before that's over. I mean, we're not gonna have fund balance.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Got 2 questions for you real quick.
Yes, sir.
On here, we've got police asset forfeiture expenditures at $40,000. I mean, what is that?
So
I mean,
those are restricted funds, as Jesse had talked about. So we have an asset forfeiture account that kind of sits out there separate from everything, because that's a Department of Justice money, U.S. Treasury money, and we can only spend it on certain things. Well, what we do is we transfer X amount into the budget, the operating budget every year. So when we make a perfect example, we bought some simunition, pistols and simunition ammunition, so officers could do some tactical scenario-based training. We used asset forfeiture money for that. It was $5,000. But because it had already been transferred into the operating budget, we didn't need to come back to council to ask for certain purchases. The camera system that where we did the 6 crime cameras, those were paid for with asset forfeiture funds.
So I guess this line here is moving funds out of that.
which line are you looking at?
It says police assets forfeiture, federal and state.
The
I mean,
restricted
because all the rest of these are expenses. So this looks like we're spending $40,000.
It's just appropriating $40,000 of those restricted funds for whatever purpose that the chief needs to use those funds for, but they are restricted, so they have to be used for an allowable purpose. It's just putting them in the budget for whatever purpose comes up.
So it's kind of like a,
Kind of a placeholder
yeah,
item.
it's a net zero.
okay.
It is a net zero, yes, sir, to the bottom line of the budget. There's a revenue and an offsetting expenditure.
Okay, I got you. And then the last thing is the evidence RFI system, $30,000. Help me understand where $30,000 is, because the RFID systems I've seen, you can buy them for like $300 and a roll of RFID tags.
So that's actually been pushed back, but
Okay,
there is a process for our evidence room. When a piece of evidence goes in, it's got an RFID tag on it. When it comes out, it's tagged as it's left this room. And eventually, the state lab, where we have to drop off all of our evidence for testing, we don't have a hard date yet, but they're gonna require us to match their RFID system. So we can show at 10 a.m. on Tuesday, this piece of evidence left the Stallings Police Evidence Lockup, and at 2:30 in that afternoon, it entered the state crime lab in Raleigh.
So this is more, not necessarily, but more being part of that bigger system is why it costs so
Yeah.
much. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not just a local entity.
And we pushed it out because the state has not yet said we've got a hard date on it. We just wanted to get it kind of on the radar.
Yeah. Okay, those are my two.
All right. Any other questions for Chief? All righty. Does anybody not support any of these that want to take it to the council for a vote?
I'm comfortable with the police line items. Worst thing than having a police department is one that doesn't work.
All right, so,
Good.
Stephen?
Oh, I got one more question, if you don't mind.
No.
Yeah, you can sit back there. The 13,000 to remodel the office, what's that for?
So right now, we have 4 patrol sergeants,
They got a new-
and we have one office that's about 8 feet by 8 feet. They don't have their own station, they don't have their own computer, they don't have their own phone, they don't have their own file cabinet. So the intent was to tear down a wall in between. We have 2, one's a storage closet, and the other is the existing sergeant's office. As we're pushing forward with the new evaluation system, we felt that it'd be a good opportunity for the sergeants to actually have a place where they can sit down and close the door and have their one-on-one with their subordinates and address those issues. And then that'd also give them place to keep working files. Quite honestly, I can walk into the sergeant's office and I can open all the file cabinet doors because nobody can lock them because they're all sharing the same file cabinets.
Okay, all right, thanks. Great.
All right. Lori?
I'm okay.
Hillary? Graham?
My thought, as I said earlier, was the one sergeant, one officer, and then do the other officer next year.
Okay. All right, well,
I put approved in everything.
yeah, this one's all approved, yeah. All right, next page, transportation and engineering. The first one is PCI evaluation. I put in there, I recommended that we remove that this year and do it next year. Town center streetscape, Alex has recommended we take that out.
Okay.
Am I right on that, Alex?
Yes, sir. I would wait until after the Old Monroe Road project is finished.
All right, thank you. Street maintenance, town funded 800,000. I recommended reducing that to 600,000. And that's all my recommendations on that.
I don't understand why the POW bill is over here. I mean, it's just a notable item. I mean, because we're getting that regardless, right?
Right.
It's a zero impact, just like the other zero impact one.
Okay,
It comes in, but it goes out. Exactly.
okay.
And the difference is, like in the 5-year forecast, and that number's slight difference, 522 and 472. Are y'all just reflecting a reduction already?
So the 472 and the 50 plus
Ah,
$12,000 in interest.
got it. Thank you. Thank you. When is the last time we did the PCI? I saw it somewhere, but I don't have it here.
Fiscal year 21,
Oh, that's where I saw it.
probably. A while ago, though.
I think about this way, and I think the PCI is important to do because I think that drives our decision-making on what roads to do. And that's being paid for out of fund balance, so it doesn't affect the tax rate necessarily. So eliminating it doesn't really change the manager's tax rate.
I think it also helps us make sure that we are on the right track with the right
Well,
roads.
And what I was gonna couple my thought with was back to, I agree with the mayor in reducing that 800 to something lower, but But almost like I said during the neighborhood meet or the committee meeting, it's hard to know what costs are gonna be. It's hard to gonna know what revenue's gonna be mid-year, but I'm always receptive to a budget ordinance mid-year that says costs are down, it looks like we've got savings in these categories. We could probably, for another $150,000, do these roads. Because I suspect throughout the year, there might be savings or additional revenue show up. But even if not, I think 600 plus 472 is a pretty healthy number for street maintenance, even though it may not meet the PCI level, what we ask it to do. So that's just my 2 cents. I'm happy to be wrong.
I'm pretty strongly in favor of.
No, no, go ahead.
Strongly in favor of 800. Especially 2 points, we're going to charge auto fee, which implies but doesn't actually direct us to that we're going to spend money on the roads. Our PCI is telling us, has told us that 800 is, or more, is really what we need to be spending on the roads over and above POW bill. And it leads me to the second thing. The POW bill is in limbo. Whether the dollar amount decreases, it's certainly not going to increase. But right now, there's a possibility it may go away. I don't think it's very likely, but it's up in the air. It's very uncertain at this time. But anyhow, the 800,000 is for mainly for if we're going to charge an auto fee. I really think we need to maintain that. It's too easy for us to back off on something that we committed to during the last PCI, that this is bare minimum of what we need to be doing. And I think somebody over there brought up earlier in the earlier meeting that inflation is eating away at it already.
Okay. Taylor Ray, did you have a question? Oh, I'm
Can I
sorry.
ask a quick question? I mean, because my understanding is with the street maintenance, Kevin, is that we could put $10 million into this budget every year and still have street work that we would need to do. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so the number that we give you effectively determines not just an amount, it determines the scope, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we can reduce it or make it bigger or whatnot. I think my question here is that, Brad, if we do like a mid-year budget change, that's not because things go up or down, it's because the scope is gonna change. And the scope can go up or down as we desire. So I guess my thought here is that the PCI drove the 800,000. So I guess the question comes back to, are we wanting to limit the scope of what we're doing? Because we have set as a priority, a goal of 70%. If we move it back down to 600 or any other value, are we gonna be able to maintain the goal of 70%? Because to me, it's not about the money or how much we're spending, it's about reaching a goal that we've set. And so are we going to be able to continue to meet the 70% if we reduce the money?
In short, no. And follow-up to that is, I believe it was not FY25 budget, it was the FY24 budget discussions. We projected inflation, I think it was 3% for the next 10 years. And towards the end of that 10 years, it was more so we needed to spend closer to 1.45 million total to maintain that 70 PCI value. So if we reduce that, the short answer is no, we will not be able to maintain that 70 PCI value on average throughout town.
So my thing is that if we want to remove money from this 800, the council needs to vote on what they want the new PCI value to be and reset the goal, because right now, my opinion is that amount of money is to meet our goal, not an arbitrary value that we've set. That's my thought.
I agree with that. I wouldn't go lower than the 800.
Well, on the PCI evaluation, I can guarantee you it's gonna increase the amount of money. You know, like I said, 800,000 not even covering the PCI last time. So you're gonna do it's sort of like some of the plans studies we've done. We've done the study, no implementation. The study's gonna tell us to spend more money, but we don't have it.
Yeah.
So why should we spend $70,000 on something we know the result gonna be? Why don't we continue to work off the current list and just,
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, but
What's the counter to that argument?
The counter to that argument is, we use that to dictate the roads that we choose. So there could be roads in worse condition that have deteriorated quicker. We had a crazy winter this winter, cold, wet, and that significantly damages roads a lot faster. So our current list could not take that into consideration. So that's ultimately why we do this propose to do this every 5 years, is to make sure our list is up to date with with the best prioritized roads.
and I understand that, but we're looking at a 4-cent tax.
Well, this is coming out of fund balance too, Mayor, so it doesn't,
Well, I know that, but whether it's coming out of fund balance or general fund, it's still money. Do we need to spend it? Is it a want or a need? That's always my litmus test.
I'm okay with dropping the 70. I'm not okay dropping the 800 unless we, as a council, vote on a new PCI value that is less than 70.
All right, that's your recommendation?
And that would be using an old outdated or fiscal year 21.
That is a true statement, but it would be,
Exactly. So it wouldn't be the most current anyway, so.
Yep.
And it's required to be done every 5 years, so it's gonna be this year or has to be next year.
well, it's required because we as the council said that.
Yeah. All right, well, I can go along with that recommendation, Stephen, so I'll take a poll over here.
What was the recommendation?
Drop the 70,000, keep it at 800,000. So I'll start on this end this time. Dropping this,
Doing it this year.
not doing the PCI, keeping the, funding it on the roads at 800,000. So I'll start on this end, Graham. Ray, you all right?
I'm good.
Laura, Stephen?
I'm good.
I can do it.
All right. So removing the 70,000 PCI and keeping the 800,000 for the street maintenance. All right, that's all I had. Anybody else want to discuss any topic here?
I had a question about the staffing and the split funding between stormwater and general fund. There was a truck that was going to be bought 50/50 general fund stormwater, if I read that correctly somewhere, Alex.
I think that's on the next page, isn't
A
it?
position that was gonna be net neutral to the general fund. I guess my big question is, can all or both of those things be 100% out of the stormwater fund to relieve the general fund? Is that possible?
Yeah, we're on the next
Perfect
page.
segue. That question
Yeah.
came up last time. I think the mayor asked it,
All right.
and it's a good one. I got a little excited. I was like, ooh, you can't do that?
Yeah, we can't.
And we researched it, and we can't, you know.
Yeah. Okay, good. That triggered a memory that we can use stormwater funds for some aspects of street maintenance. Are you thinking about that as you're doing your budget, curb, gutter, that kind of stuff? Might we see some of that happen?
We've done quite a bit of curb repairs.
Okay.
That were leading to roadway deterioration, holding water.
Yeah.
So what
Okay.
we're doing is
You are thinking about it.
shaving curbs down and
Using stormwater funds?
correct.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, on this one, Brad just brought it up, the heavy dump truck, it's splitting with stormwater, which we have plenty of money there, so it's $50,000 to the
Does it have
general.
to be 50/50? It could be 80/20. I'm just, you said it has to be.
Yeah, that was the second question that was asked.
Okay, sorry, I
No,
just,
no, you're-
how'd you come to the meetings?
It had to be
No, no.
reasonable.
I didn't mean it that way. But we looked at it, and we feel that's the appropriate split
Okay.
based on the job that's gonna be done. It's truly 50/50.
You know, it was on YouTube. You could have watched this in Vegas, you know?
Thought about it.
All righty, we're still up at Public Works. Any other concerns, comments?
So this, the additional public works technician is gonna be part-time, or we're gonna pay him? What is that?
Full-time, he'd be split between just from an accounting perspective, the employee would be full-time. But just from an accounting perspective, about half of the work he's gonna be doing is gonna be on the stormwater side.
Right.
And then about
Okay.
half of the work is gonna be general
Okay.
funds. So from an accounting perspective, we just split it.
So it would be 84,000, that includes everything?
Yeah, all the benefits, everything.
Yeah, okay.
All righty, Public Works, anything else? Any questions for Kevin?
Yeah, what is the sewer package plant study?
That was, that comes from the priority action list.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
One of the things that, within that, strategic plan and the action list, for the board was, the board wanted to look at doing a study of the new technology of, package plants. What I heard you say was, hey, we want to make sure we're doing an independent analysis and not just taking the salesperson's word for it, and making sure that we vet this technology. So there's probably two aspects to that strategic plan action item. It's first doing an independent study, what kind of technology is out there? Is this a good idea generally? And then potentially, if you have individual developments, also having an independent analysis, almost like a TIA done for that individual development. Because we can look at all the technology generally, but there's going to be one particular piece of technology that's going to be proposed for any given development. And so we vet it generally, and then we vet it individually. That was the thinking behind it. Is that ringing a bell?
Yeah, who would we get to do it?
That's a good question. We haven't decided yet.
Yeah, I don't know if
It
Kimley-
probably,
Kimley Horn would have somebody, or?
yeah, it's a pretty almost niche subject. So, we'd probably look at all the engineering firms that we've already vetted for generally, see if they have it. And then we'd, if we couldn't find it here, we'd broaden our search to find the appropriate expert. Kevin, is there anything you want to add?
That sounds,
Talk to Central Lina.
sounds like is there a ongoing cost for that? Anytime that somebody comes in, we would evaluate that? Is that a fee that we would charge? For if they've got a package plant, we would be able to charge them a fee to do that
If
evaluation?
anybody was coming in with something of that size,
Okay.
it would all but assuredly be a requirement as a conditional zoning.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And
Okay.
so, what I would suggest, and I guess the position that we as staff would take, unless we heard otherwise from you all, is, hey, Mr. or Mrs. Developer, you need to fund kind of an analysis of this, almost like a TIA, an independent analysis that we're gonna pick who does it, as a condition of a development.
Still have to be approved by the county, I heard. True? Private package plants have to have approval of the county commission?
Have to be approved by the state.
State, yeah.
That's what, at least the gentleman that came.
Yeah, it's state, yeah.
Because this is so new, I would think we'd have a hard time finding an engineer that doesn't have a stake in something, that's not part of a sales team, like the people that were here.
It would probably be a big engineering firm
I think
who
what we
has
would-
enough in-house, to cover the cost of somebody like that. Kevin, I'm sorry.
I was
You got a question after, or a comment?
Just like we do with all other engineering services, we could do an RFQ and have a bunch of firms submit qualifications, read through their experiences and what their stakeholders are, and select from there as well. So
Well, I
that's an
agree, we
option.
need it, because that technology is coming, I spoke to a group this week, they asked me about sewer, same thing I said tonight, they're not, Union County didn't even have anything on the drawing board, so it's coming. So, I agree with it. I don't think it'll come in at 25,000, but that's a good placeholder.
Mr. Strong, did you have a comment?
No, I said he doesn't have to speak.
Okay.
I was making eye contact with him about something we talked about earlier.
All right, Public Works, everybody good with everything?
Well, can we quickly just jump back over to planning and
Well,
zoning?
let's get through Public Works first.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was back on page. I think we skipped it.
What do you think? Public Works is page 3, that's the one we're on.
He skipped plan.
Planning
Oh.
was at the bottom of the previous page.
Page 4, yeah.
They didn't have much.
Yeah, Public Works, page 4. Okay, let's finish Public Works. Everybody okay with keeping everything? Graham? Taylor Ray? Laurie?
Yep.
To Stephen? Yeah,
Yes.
y'all both don't count, no. All righty, now what was the one you wanted to go back to?
Planning,
Planning,
it's on the bottom of the page.
well, it says that,
Page 3?
yeah,
Yeah, okay, yeah, we didn't talk about it because one of them's not in the budget and the other one is code enforcement.
No,
yeah, code enforcement has
the budget.
a funding source in A. So are we gonna steal it?
No, it should not. So that's
Yeah. You're gonna need to leave.
That's because it's not funded. That's why it says NA, because it's not in the budget.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
I got it. Thank you.
We're trying to
Yep.
get creative there. There's
Reading comprehension, thank you.
We,
All right.
we may have to come to you in the future, but we're trying to get creative with some kind of moving around of who drives what.
Now I'm confused. Why is this total 62.5 for that section if it's not in the budget?
Well, because it's just the total that's in there, but if you go down to like the very last page, well, the next to last page, it'll do the breakdown for you and show what's funded versus what's not funded.
All right.
All right,
And then the
That'll
other one
do.
is fees. That means that we've made 20 grand in fees, or we anticipate to make 20 grand in fees. Okay. I'm good,
all
thank you.
right.
So why, I'm not, why is this on here if we're not funding it? I'm confused.
Well, I think for me, I can answer that. Me as a manager, I always be 360 transparent in everything we do, right? This is, the manager's recommended budget, but I also want y'all to see the requests that I get, right? There may be some things that you see that I didn't fund, and you're like, hey, I want to do that, right? And so, no ego, we just want to kind of show you everything. And if there's something else that y'all want to add that I nix, let's add it.
So is Max, are you good with this? No. Sorry.
Right answer, right answer.
It's on our CIP, right? So that's why it's on there. So if you want to add it, we can add it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they really need a truck right now or if they. Okay, all right.
But it'll be kept, we'll keep bringing it every year. So I just wanted to make sure you guys saw it this year, you saw last year. We're gonna ask for it again next year.
Are you changing the oil like the mayor? No.
The
Yeah,
car is
so-
mechanically in good shape. There's some cosmetic things, there's a rip in the seat, things like that that we can fix. We're also exploring, the code enforcement truck gets used a lot more than the engineering truck, kind of swapping the uses there. So there's some things that we can do kind of creatively, administratively, to kind of get some more useful life out of it.
How old is this vehicle?
2016.
Oh, I thought that one was an 18.
2018 is the engineering truck.
Wow, okay.
All right, moving on to Park and Rec. It's also 4 items on the sheet that Alex just handed out. So the first one on that sheet, the recommendation I made on mine is removing the tennis and pickleball fencing. I didn't have a comment on the UTV, the Blair Mill Master Plan Amendment, eliminating that, I'm okay with. And,
What is, oh, utility vehicle, sorry.
yeah, I didn't have any thought on that one. So, and then the splash pad redesign. Those were the ones I had as removals from the budget. So, anybody else got comments, questions. If y'all saw,
So the splash pad, you want to take it out?
the redesign,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am.
I mean, not okay, but I understand.
And everybody, I don't know if you saw Eunice's email later today with some information.
Yeah, I read that as a safety thing more than anything else. And
Oh, I
that will
did see
have to
that.
be done soon, so she can talk about it, but again, that's another one of those things I would say, because a one-time could be thrown to fund balance, even though I feel like I'm throwing a lot to fund balance, but it's a savings account that our policy allows us to do that. And I think with some management of that in the out years, we might be able to be fine. Projection says we'll lose our fund balance if we keep spending it, but so I'd say keep it and move it to fund balance.
And my thing would be is that there was one picture in there that kind of just looked like we removed the balls, and that was pretty much it. And then there was one that actually looked like some, a destination that people would bring their kids to. I don't want to, the best way I can say this nicely is cheapen the experience of coming to Stallings so I want to be careful about doing the bare minimal to get by. If we're gonna replace it, I would say we're keeping that in mind. That's my only thing.
I concur. We were visiting a daughter up in Nightdale a couple weeks ago and walked around their park, and I was making mental notes of how beautiful their park is. Ours is very beautiful too. It's different than theirs, but they have all kinds of water features that pump out water, squirt guns and stuff like that built in around. They don't have those balls like we have, which look aesthetically nice, but they don't do anything. These
Correct.
things do things, and it looked pretty slick. So I agree with that. I don't want it to look cheap. I want it to look inviting and fun. And I think one of the gratifying things as a councilman is walking through the park, or either walking through or going to one of our events and hearing the children having a blast. So I don't want to take that away.
Yeah, my biggest fear would be to turn it off, and that would make my heart sad, so.
That's a huge draw in the summertime.
Yes, sir. I believe we'd get a little bit of a revenue hit with our shelter rentals over the summer. That's our prime spot. And this 110,000 is a very comfortable number for us to come back to you guys later and present you with a new design that's a little bit safer, still modern, and still makes it feel like a true destination for Stallings. Exactly like you said, don't want to remove the balls and just make it essentially a glorified watering hole.
So there's 110,000, it says redesign, does that have to do with implementation?
Yes, sir, that is everything. Yes, sir. And I would hope we can do it in that amount of money. Like I said, we believe that it's a very comfortable number for us to get it done. However, that encompasses everything. I would hate for us to be in a situation where we don't put any money in the pad and we do have to turn it off this summer. And you guys see my face in July begging for some funds because people are calling at me, yelling.
Keep talking about turning it off, why?
So we are down to our last spare sphere.
Okay, so wait a minute, we got 10 spears?
So when Dina did the splash pad back in the day, years ago, there were a supplement of spheres that we had on hand to replace. What has happened is the design of the pad was not ideal for children's play. So what they have done is they've climbed on it, they've jumped on them, they've stuck sand in them, they've stuck mulch in them, toys, and it has broken the spheres. And we are down, correct me if I'm wrong, Nick, to our last one. And we plan on using that this summer because as of right now, we have a few bolts we can't get into the ball. Correct me if I'm wrong. And our splash pad will fail permitting, processing, and we will not be able to open due to Union County Health Code. I have reached out to the company that has specifically designed these balls. It's a custom mold, and they make these out of Mexico. So I just think when the splash pad went in, while it is aesthetically pleasing, I do not think it's ideal for replacement and upkeep because we could custom make these molds, get them back from Mexico, they ship out from California straight to our doorstep. However, I do not think this is going to be the most cost-effective for you guys moving forward, as well not the safest option.
Well, don't worry about Mexico. I ship stuff to Mexico back and forth every day, so I'm not worried about that. Now, you pay a premium coming in, so
Yes, sir.
that's the way it goes, but I'm not worried about, the trucks run both ways every day.
Yes, sir.
Don't worry about that.
It's more so the custom piece that get a little bit harder to replace, as well as the safety aspect.
I think it's important, you know, to bring people into the park, but also when we're talking about our town center, you know, we want people to enjoy the park and go whatever they do, the taste, what is that place? Brewery. Yeah. And then they want to put restaurants over in that other quarter, and that, you know, I just think little kids are gonna go there. 4-year-olds are gonna,
Yeah,
mom's gonna take the 4-year-old and then just go and get ice cream.
yeah. Stallings did a wonderful job, definitely got on before the splash pad trend. So this is something that's been around years before they even became popular, so.
All right, so anybody support my recommendation?
No.
All right, let's move on.
I was at
No,
a
no,
business.
no, let's don't beat a dead horse.
I do support taking the Blair Mill Park.
Yeah,
All right, Blair
Well, I
Mill.
would like to have a conversation latter about parks and priorities and all that. That's a big nut to crack later.
Oh, and then the fence,
Pickleball.
yeah, we could actually talk about that.
Yeah, for sure.
Is it being locked currently?
No, sir. We don't have the current staff to be able to do that. We're hoping, you know, with the addition of the part-timer, hoping to fill some spots. But I can't imagine us being at a place where we would lock them ourselves.
And then how much did because I know, what was it, they took a bike or something on and how much did that cost us to?
So we were still in warranty, which we haven't had to pay out of pocket yet. We're creeping out of that. However, that has been an ongoing issue. It's turned into a nice little pump track at the nighttime.
These are automated locks that were gonna say, a new whole fence, the whole fence is.
Yes, sir. It would be a whole new fence because it's just getting old. It's leaning over. People are hanging their paddles. If you've been out there,
Original fence that you know of?
excuse me?
Is that the original fence
Yes, sir.
from 1970?
Yes. I don't know if it's 1970s. However, I do know that there's no record on Parkside since 2012 that we have replaced it. So it's definitely seen some better days. But the locks would be on an internal timer. They would let someone in, obviously, but then if you're not stuck in. If you're there past 8, you would have to leave. Yeah, that makes sense.
If you get the part-time person, would you be able to just go fashion lock?
I would be nervous that if we did do that and say a part-timer was on holiday, sick, called out, it's kind of this iffy standard of, do we now call one of our full-time staff to come in on the weekends when we're off? It's just would be a hard balance. I would definitely say the lock gate would be better over time, more reliable.
When will that go in versus the warranty out?
I think we're creeping up and probably about,
They meet.
what do you mean, like fix the tennis court now and put up the fencing? I believe that was the intention of this, is because if the new fencing does go up and say there was wear and tear on the court, we can kind of, exactly, yes.
Because I would want to approve the fence and then come and tear.
And tearing up, exactly, yes. I believe it was a 2-year warranty, and then it was a full year of any damage that was caused by us. Obviously, if we did something that was a little more outside of the realm, say the fence did crash and it was a total, like, repair, that would be on us.
This was one of the ABOs that we brought that was pulled a couple months ago, was to do this fence. Yeah,
Yeah.
Do we have money in the park budget this year to do it still?
we were just gonna appropriate fund balance to do it.
Not in the
with
park budget, though.
ABO, which is the same funding source that we're using next year's budget.
All righty, fence for pickleball. Graham?
One additional question.
Yeah, of course. That's what we're here for.
Alternatives, is there, I guess, Chief, is there, I hate to do this, but did police, You all work, you run
Actually,
24/7, you
probably
go over, unlock in the morning, unlock in the, and lock in the evening.
It's the same scenario. If we only have 2 people and they're at the jail all night, nobody will be here to lock the gate. Or if they're busy, there's no guarantee that the gate's locked. Now, one of the positives is we were able to put a camera up there, but it doesn't capture everything.
Yeah.
Oh, there is a camera.
Yeah, looks awesome.
You'd have to, I'm not sure how much it covers. I don't think it covers.
Is that the 360?
Yeah. It's part of the new Verkada system, right? That's the correct language.
It's on a grant from the league.
And I do believe in the past, the park actually did used to get locked by the police department, but it was not sustainable. So they ran into issues there, and that was pre my time.
Do you have any motion detector lights, spotlights out there?
Not motion detector, but we do keep the park lamppost on all night. So there's, yeah, it's very well lit actually for a downtown park.
See, we eliminated the movie screen, projector system, things like that. You know, I'm not suggesting adding it, but I just would make a point that if we're gonna have a central park and we're gonna spend money on it, that's the park I'd wanna spend money on. The other parks in the plan might be just more passive parks, so, your thoughts on movie screen projector system? You had requested it, but it's been eliminated for budget reasons. Is it important to you as a programmer?
Oh, I'd love them. Everything on here I'd love to have. So we're going that. If I could pick one,
Is that a good price, return on investment? How would you argue in favor of that for us?
well, we just had our movie night in the park this past Friday. I would say there was probably about 100 people there. And if y'all keep investing in downtown growth, I could imagine a new movie projector, a new screen with an alleged brewery would be a really cool place for adults to go after they watch a movie downtown with their children in a family-friendly atmosphere.
I,
That brings up something, then we have a partnership where they help sponsor projector. 'Cause I mean,
Yeah,
an advertisement brought to you by Armored Cow, come every year.
We have had sponsors in the past that do sponsor movie nights. However, we have all the materials, and they just pay a $500,000 fee and get some signage out there. But everything is provided by us. That's how it's been done in the past, not saying it can change, but
well, I'd keep it on there for next year. But I like the thinking, and I'm okay with the pickleball. I think you need to invest and protect the investment. The pickleball court seems to be a hit. Everybody seems to be out there playing all the time. I'm okay with the Blair Plan Master Plan Amendment being punted for a year. I'd like to have a broader conversation about that park as well.
all right, well, let's finish up with the pickleball then. Graham, pickleball fence?
So I would like to know how much that damage was. And I know that it's guaranteed, it was under
Yeah.
guarantee, but if we could have gotten that information.
Does
Yeah.
it cost to resurface the court?
to resurface, what we just did was a little over $40,000. And that was a total, kind of reno. We added the pickleball courts. But prior to that, I believe it was like 32 just to keep it the same. So my fear, if we don't do the fence, I'm not saying doing it right now, but the more we delay it, I do believe it's going to get more and more damaged as the years go by. And I will say it has been a huge attraction ever since y'all have really decided to invest in it and invest in this park. It gets used all hours of the day. So very, very popular spot.
We've had folks try to come out there at night with
Mm-hmm.
kind of play, Nick had run. So,
All right, Graham? Well, I'll start at the other end. Your vote might be mute.
Yes.
Brad?
Yes.
Yes. David, yes. Stephen?
Yes.
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 All right, Graham, son, you're done.
Yep.
All right, one thing I heard that made me against the fence was somebody on the Park and Rec wanted shade on those fences. And I won't be here next year when that shade comes up, but if you need shade to have a recreational activity, play inside. Do something, bowl, do something. So to ask for shade to play outside is ridiculous.
Okay, note to
I
self.
don't care if it's 90 years old, go inside and play. All right,
Find some air conditioning.
find some air conditioning. Blair Mill Master
Grab
Park.
your video game and get back indoor.
Yeah, go back indoors.
So, hold on, what was the consensus on the splash pad?
Yes,
How do we end on that?
yes.
Well, I had suggested fund balance, but I don't know we ever decided that.
But we never finished that, did we? Did we?
Yeah, it's,
So it is, okay, so
Yeah.
I had fund balance question mark.
no, I see, yes, yeah. So Blair Mill Park?
No.
No?
No.
No.
No's have it, so Blair Mill Park Master Plan.
What was the replacement UTV? Oh, we did.
I didn't have it down there. Anybody has any concerns about that? Or what need-
Replacement UTV?
Yeah.
I don't know what it, tell us about it.
If we don't replace it in this budget, it will be an emergency cost. I will say we are on the last leg of that Gator. So what Nick and Kyle currently drive right now is like a little UTV, think Kubota, Gator, backyard. They do it for trash, they do it for all the maintenance needs. And we have invested a good chunk of change in trying to keep the life of this going. And we're at a point where we're just, it's a money pit and we're needing to upgrade.
Cost, we've had to sunk it in this thing. I'm worried that if we don't replace it, it's gonna keep on getting more expensive.
I support that.
Yeah.
If, when you replace it, what are you gonna do with the current one? You gonna sell it?
We'll either sell it on Gov Deals or we'll hang on to it, maybe find something, a need at Blair Mill Park where we're not using it every single day, multiple times a day. That's the issue right now. However,
What are you using on the Greenway?
a foot,
That would possibly fit there.
yeah, so that's what we're hoping, if we had like a little shed or something at Blair Mill Park. But like I said, that's down the road and hopefully it would last that long.
Well, if you do decide to sell it, I know some charities that would like to bid on it.
Oh, okay, thank you.
All righty. Any other things on the, park and rec? Oh, that's it. Here's the next page, is the summary.
Mayor,
Or did I miss something?
the Blair Mill Park Master Plan, we good with that? Did I hear that right?
No,
I
that's,
thought we,
I think you said no, yes.
that's out. That last page, oh no,
Mayor, can I ask a quick question?
yeah,
Camera system upgrades. It's cheaper to do it all at once, right?
which page are you on that?
It's
Yes,
the,
so are you referring to the phase 2 of 6?
$15,000?
Yep, so this was just part of an initiative with Parks and the Police Department to continually upgrade the camera systems through the years out. Because right now, we're dealing with two different systems. So half is Verkada, half is something that's been in the park. What's been in the park, unreliable, has a really hard time pulling footage. Verkada, it's online, the police have access to it, Parks has access to it offline, and we can pull the footage from our desk. The other system, we're having to manually go in, put a USB drive, pinpoint the exact time. Someone has to be super specific if something happens. The new system's way more up to date. Facial recognition, a lot easier to identify issues faster, especially with the capabilities of the police department, getting to use it without having to ask us.
so,
Well, yeah, nobody brought it up, so yeah, it was approved.
well,
Well,
yeah,
it's,
Oh,
the issue, I think, is that this was part of the, I think, the March.
Yeah, it was
Budget
one of the
amendments.
ABOs that we brought in March. Nick had gotten a quote to do all of it at one time.
Much
because
cheaper.
it'd save us quite a bit of money to do it all at once, rather than having to have them come out here for 6 separate installations.
so what's the total then?
Remember what that was? I can probably pull up that ABO.
All of it?
But I will say, that was before the installation of these cameras.
Right.
They cover a bigger area than anticipated, so potentially we might not need as many cameras.
Let me ask you this, is would y'all be open if we brought you in the future a budget amendment for all of it, with all the information again?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
well, I have a quick question.
Okay.
Well, we've had the issue with the vandalism on the pickleball courts. We have one of the new cameras over there. And has that been prosperous?
It's hard to locate children in the dark. Is probably the best way to put it. But, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
we haven't had issues since the camera went in. Okay.
I'd say it blends in, but it's pretty
As far as
prominent.
vandalism, people there after hours, yes, but damage to the courts since the cameras went up, that's only been.
Okay. I mean, ultimately, if we're investing in cameras, we want them
Working.
to work and be
Yes.
available to do what we
Yes.
need them to do.
So were the items up at the top of Parks and Rec that were not discussed, is it safe to assume that those were approved?
Yeah, everything that we didn't, everything we excluded is approved.
Perfect, just wanted
Yep.
to confirm that, thank you.
And the next page,
The bottom, did we approve everything?
Mm-hmm.
Is that just, okay.
now the next page, those numbers will change, won't they, Jesse?
Yes, sir.
So no sense going over them. If you could update them and send them out to us, appreciate it.
Well, this updated the right column, so a total of $160,000 has been reduced from the budget.
Oh, you were adding it as we went.
I
All
was
right.
cutting the things that you were cutting. yes,
Can you
sir.
resend it to us, so?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you,
Yeah,
man.
already marked mine up.
All right, the last page is stormwater. And this is the first I've seen this one about the MS4 inspector, $124,000. That's the first I've seen that, unless I missed it somewhere along the line. But the funding source is fees. So how does that work? I mean,
Just that
Stormwater
annual
fees.
stormwater fee.
This is a stormwater tax.
but it's a new hire?
Yes, it's a requirement for our MS4 permit. And Kevin, please help me here, but essentially, neighborhoods have to have their detention ponds inspected on a yearly basis as part of the MS4 permit. And it's much cheaper for us to hire somebody to do this in-house than it is to contract it out. So Kevin will make it sound sexier than that, but.
All right, well, you said the magic word is required for a MS4 permit. So.
Is it truly a full-time job?
It is.
Could that be, okay.
It really is, because all things considered, what they're doing is, you can kind of think of it as a stormwater code enforcement officer, essentially,
Okay.
for our state permit, is essentially what it is. And what they'll be doing is, they have to inspect every year, all the retention ponds, private and public, make sure, not only just inspect it, but make sure they're getting remediated accordingly. They have to inspect every single outfall, which is basically just exactly what it sounds like, where stormwater is in a pipe, outfalls, discharges into a swale. They have to inspect all those.
Do you know some of the numbers of those roughly? We're not gonna hold you to it, but it's a large amount of stuff.
Hundreds of outfalls.
Yeah, hundreds of outfalls, lots of detention.
Who's doing this now, Kevin?
Nobody. This is a piece of our stormwater, our MS4 permit, that we're truly starting from scratch on. So this has been one of the biggest complex issues that I've been trying to work through. And when all things considered, this was the best way, I think, to make sure we're in compliance with that permit. And best way in-house to track it and manage it.
Does each pond have to be inspected every year?
Yes. Yep.
Does this cover like the ponds at the divide in the Shanamara subdivision?
It would, yes.
So those, we were having this conversation last week, the dam is on private property. One homeowner owns the dam, which seems kind of crazy. They were all
Yeah.
saying it's crazy, but they're responsible for it because that's how it was parceled.
And if you recall, 2-ish months ago, I was gonna propose I was about to come to council and say, maybe we need to increase our stormwater fees to account for these inspections and just trying to figure out what pricing this looks like. But the more I talked with our consultant that's helping us out, the more it just makes sense to just hire somebody in-house and use the fees that we're already taking in to fund these inspections and make sure people are keeping up with it. So.
And there's somebody that has this permit, has this certification?
Yeah, ultimately, and I just took the class and I'm certified as well. It's a $600 class that you take through NC State. And yeah, you will be certified to inspect all of these. You need a PE to sign off on the inspection, so ultimately I would sign off on the inspections. but they can go out there and inspect
do
it.
that.
Is that
retire early and
person
do this.
already an
Yeah.
engineer also?
They don't have to be
Part-time
engineers.
work.
So it's 180, 20.
They don't have to be licensed engineers. You can be
Ride around new truck.
truly
We'll get you a new
just
truck and a new truck.
a contractor.
I guess it's gonna be under $2.
But you have to have things, the inspection reports signed off by a PE.
Okay, so then you would have to go and look at it?
Well, ultimately, we have reports that they would fill out. They would take pictures, and I took the same class that they did, so I would know what these remediations look like, what the issues look like, and I'd be able to sign off on these reports, yeah.
Where'd you take the class?
I took it in Hickory.
Hickory?
Yep.
And how, is it a week long?
It was only 2 days. It was 2 full days.
Yeah, this is looking better and better, Brad.
Thinking you're interested.
All right. Any other, questions?
I'm just wondering about the salary is 80,000, but you need 124,000.
That's benefits and everything. The 124 covers benefits
Oh,
and
okay.
retirement, yeah.
All right,
And the one on top, is that the other half of the
truck.
other guy?
Yeah, same person, just the right
Yes,
side.
yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Everybody good with it? Any other questions on stormwater?
Again, everything's covered by fees, so.
Yeah.
Good.
All righty. That brings us to the end. Any requests from staff? Josie, Alex, Aaron, or the rest of them? Any requests for information?
May I ask a couple follow-up questions?
Sure can.
Thank you for the conversation, both from you all and the staff. I'm continually impressed with how well everybody works together. So obviously, I believe we saw $160,000 in reduction, some fund balance appropriations should help with that cost savings. Should I keep the tax rate the same? Should we decrease the tax rate proportionally based on the reductions? Was that the goal there?
Yes.
Okay.
That's my thought.
Okay, is everybody on board with that?
Whatever it comes out to. Just-
That's what I would,
Yes. Okay, just wanted to make sure we were on the same page. It sounds like the budget's done then. Yes, sir.
I haven't, did I miss the contingency for this year? Or is,
I don't think we have a contingency.
okay, I mean, okay,
The way I think about contingency, if it's something like immediate, like life altering, we handle it, we come back to you. But if it's something big, that pops up, we would come to the board and do an ABO, an amended budget ordinance.
so, I hate to ask, I know it's getting late, but, so why, huh?
It really is getting late. That's what he said.
Well, I'm still gonna ask my questions, cause it's a job. Why do we put it in some years and not other years?
It probably, it probably depends on the year. We'd have to look back at the year.
Okay.
Sometimes, it could be a rounding thing, right, where, it just depends. Sorry, we can research that for you.
Well,
And then specifically for 25, the contingency line item was for the pay study. It was to
Yeah.
pay for the pay study and to implement the pay study, so it was for a specific purpose. I can't speak to prior to that, that would definitely take research, but I can say for 25, that's what it was for.
okay, I got you.
So we've got an optional, May 27th. That's a Tuesday after Memorial Day budget meeting. It's optional. Safe to assume to cancel that one.
Yes.
Okay. We do have a council meeting, but Kevin, did we get a third bid?
Tomorrow.
Okay.
Go ahead. Tell us the scenario there, Alex.
So, we have one agenda item for May 27th. It's contingent on whether Kevin gets a third bid tomorrow. If we get a third bid, then, we may need to have a council meeting. If we don't get a third bid tomorrow, we've got to extend the bid period, and thus we would have no meetings that night.
And even if we get a bid, is it timely decision need to be made? Or can it wait 2 weeks?
I would like to get it done by the end of the fiscal year, because we have our sidewalk budget.
Okay.
Granted, that can carry over into the next year, so in short, No, it's not a massively time contingent
Okay.
item, so.
Thank you.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
We got it.
Well, thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
Josie,
Yes.
Aaron.
Thank you all.
everybody,
Thank you, staff,
yeah.
sticking around.
Can I get a motion to
For the whole
adjourn?
show.
So moved.
Second, can't
Motion by Aaron, second by
Yeah.
Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh. I gave Lori the case.